My name is Alyssa Buentello, and this is my This I Believe. This I believe teaching kids to use their voice. I believe that kids need to be taught to use their voice by whomever is raising them. It doesn't matter if the caregiver is the biological parents, grandparents, foster family, or in an adoption situation. Whoever is raising a child should be teaching them to use their voice. Learning to use one's voice can play a vital role when a child grows up. Unfortunately, I don't see this being taught by many caregivers or teachers. In my almost 32 years of life, I have learned that people are essentially taught to sit down and be silent. Think about your own experience through school. When I think back to mine, it's memories of sitting in a hot and stuffy classroom for hours per day. Most of the time, I was listening to a teacher do some lessons, and I only spoke when I was told it's okay, such as raising my hand to answer a question and being called on. Recess was the only time talking was really okay because even at lunch, we were told to keep talking to a minimum. Following school, I rode the bus, and it was the same thing. We were told to sit down and be silent by the bus drivers. Now, I'm well aware not everyone had the same life experience as myself. My experience was sit down and shut up, and kids are meant to be seen, not heard. I was beaten for talking out of turn and for telling on anyone. Silent, I was silenced out of fear and because it's simply what was expected of me. Personally, my parents didn't teach me or my siblings to have a voice. We weren't allowed to have an opinion or disagree. Inevitably, this had its lasting effects. As a mother, I have changed this pattern, but when it comes to my babies, in an attempt to teach them what I wish someone had taught me. My children are being taught that having an opinion is okay, disagreeing is okay, voicing a concern is okay. They're also being taught that they need to say these things in a respectful and appropriate manner. I don't silence my kids. I encourage them to say what they are thinking and feeling. When the words they use are a little too colorful, my husband and I teach them a more appropriate way to express those feelings. I believe the most appropriate phrase I use to explain this is children are just little people experiencing big people emotions. If I were to silence them, I would be doing them a disservice. The biggest issue that is commonly connected to silencing children is mental health. Emotional suppression and not being allowed to express themselves has been linked to issues such as borderline personality disorder, anxiety, depression, and many other things. Issues that aren't associated with mental health that can be a result of this, of the inability to use one's voice is being passive, having stage fright, and not sticking up for oneself. I even have a bright array of issues from being silenced throughout my youth. Most millennials and Gen Z that I know were raised in a comparable way and have some type of lasting effect from it. Now let's flip it and say all caregivers started to raise their kids to use their voice as well as teachers in the schools. What would happen? Well, the biggest thing that would be seen is more children having confidence in themselves. These kids would be able to learn emotional maturity and regulation. Later in life, these young adults would have the confidence to go after their biggest dreams with confidence. I also believe that bullying would go down significantly because let's face it, bullies hate when someone speaks up for themselves. Careers that require public speaking would also no longer be out of the question due to stage fright. Motivational speaking, teaching, being a director, becoming president, being a soldier, being a doctor all require being able to use your voice. We set kids up for failure by not teaching them how to use their voice and guiding them in the appropriate ways to do so. My oldest son's biggest question was, what if I say it nicely and someone gets offended? I told him, let them be offended. You won't always be able to make everyone happy, and that doesn't make you wrong, and it doesn't mean that you need to be silent. I will stand by this statement for as long as I live. I genuinely believe that kids need to be taught to use their voice for their own sake and future. Thank you.